The Penstar eNote's pen-only interface and ultra-long battery life set it apart in a crowded ink tablet market. But does this unique, no-nonsense approach that tries to bring e-ink back to its roots truly enhance the experience? Let's find out and start with the most obvious characteristic, its missing finger touch input. Truth be told, adjusting to the lack of touch input definitely takes some time, since we're so used to simply tapping the screen. However, I quickly realized that without a touch screen, I could hold the device more naturally, without zero worry about accidental touches. You do everything through the included stylus. One upside is an entirely interruption-free writing experience. Since the tablet can't detect your palm at all, there's no need for palm rejection software. It just never registers in the first place, which works even better than having palm rejection. Of course, removing finger touch input is still a limitation, even if it's intentional. To compensate, there are 9 physical buttons on the side of the display, 8 of which can be mapped with different actions. It still takes a bit of practice because the buttons aren't labeled and you'll need some time to build muscle memory. But once you do, it's surprisingly efficient. The Penstar eNote uses a magnetic Half-Folio attachment, which is well designed, and the magnets are positioned far enough from the screen to avoid interference with the e-ink display. Aligning the cover to quickly reattach it takes a bit of practice, but becomes simpler after a few tries. I actually wish the Supernote A5X2 had a similar attachment for its Half-Folio because this is so much more convenient to take off. The pen is stored in the loop, which is part of the Half-Folio. Since you need the pen for most device operations, you basically always pull it out and it's not in the way when opening the cover and putting the device flat on the desk. The plastic pen has a nice matte finish, though I wouldn't mind a bit more weight for a more premium feel. It has an eraser on top, always a plus, and an extra button on the side that can be mapped to erase or highlight. Design-wise, the Penstar eNote and its cover might not be for everyone. The fabric-like inlay on the cover feels a bit dated to me, and I'm also not a big fan of the red plastic strip on the side of the display where the buttons are located. There are also 4 microphones there, plus a small speaker for audio. The plastic build is okay overall, with a slightly soft to-the-touch material around the edges and a single smooth piece of plastic on the back. It also tapers towards the side, so it feels thinner than it actually is. At about 395 grams without the folio, it's one of the lighter 10.3-inch devices out there. With the tablet, folio and pen, it's around 505 grams, which isn't too heavy, but obviously not as lightweight as just the tablet alone. The power button and USB-C port sit at the top and bottom of the grip area and feel natural to reach. There is no fingerprint sensor, which would have made unlocking the device with the password a bit more convenient. When it comes to the display, the Penstar eNote is fine, but not the best out there. It has a 10.3-inch e-ink Carta panel with a 227 ppi resolution, which is lower than what many newer devices offer, especially those without a built-in front light. In everyday use, you might not notice unless you're comparing small text or looking side by side with the sharper screen. And since it doesn't have a front light, you get that slightly more paper-like feel, but you do need decent ambient light to read comfortably. On the plus side, the Penstar's background is pretty light to begin with, which makes it easier on the eyes. Ghosting can be a bit more noticeable than on some competing devices, but with the customizable side buttons, it's easy to trigger screen refresh whenever it starts bothering you. The screen protector adds a good amount of friction when writing, which I appreciate, but it can wear nibs faster and cause a bit of squeak with fresh nibs. Also, it doesn't reduce glare as well as some other screen protectors do. The great haptics when it comes to the writing feel doesn't entirely translate to the pen latency. I measured it with around 50 milliseconds in my tests, which is borderline slow compared to the 20 to 30 milliseconds you will find elsewhere. It's not unusable, just not as instant. Another point worth noting is the proprietary pen input. So Wacom pens don't work. They might have chosen this for cost reasons or to add 8,192 pressure levels, but it means you can't swap to a different pen if you want to, which I definitely see as a con. The Notetaking app itself covers the basics well. Multiple templates, various pen types like pencil, ballpoint, brush, calligraphy, and marker, plus different stroke thickness options and color options. There's no tilt sensitivity right now, but you do get pressure sensitivity. But I'd like to see a better pencil mode that really takes advantage of the 8K pressure levels. It's not bad, but compared to something like the Kindle Scribe, it could be smoother. You can insert shapes, images, and text boxes into the notes, and there's also audio recording, great for lectures and meetings. However, there seems to be no noise cancellation, so every pen stroke is audible in the recording. And exporting audio isn't possible from within the UI as far as I can tell, but you can still grab the MP3 file from the internal folders. Handwriting conversion is handled through MyScript, which is the same system Kobo is using. You have to be online though, and results can be hit and miss. Sometimes it's quick and accurate, other times it's slow and less accurate. There is also no way to switch the conversion language from English either. You can set it up to auto-convert as you write, but there is a short delay each time it kicks in. There is a search function available, but only in the notebook overview and not inside a notebook. So to find something in a notebook you're in, you have to close it and use the global search function, which can add a bit of unneeded complexity looking up something. You can organize notes with a table of contents and bookmarks, as well as categories that let you add handwriting or font changes. You can export notes as PDFs locally or by email. And there's a handy local backup option, something I haven't seen from most mainstream brands. That said, I do miss landscape mode, zoom functions, or a scrollable canvas like the remarkable tablets offer. On-page organizational tools like tags or shortcuts would also be nice. Still, overall, it's not a bad experience. Most of the note-taking features are laid out clearly at the top of the screen, so it's easy to find what you need. And that's actually true for the whole user interface I haven't talked about yet. The Penstar eNote runs a customized Android 11 UI, which is well optimized for the e-ink screen. The interface is simple, high contrast, and generally well organized. It's only available in English and traditional and simplified Chinese though. There's no Google Play support, but you can sideload apps if you want. Changing e-ink modes is possible, but it's tucked away in a sub-menu. You can even set up these modes on a per-app basis, but again, it's not immediately obvious where you can do it. Performance-wise, the Rockchip quad-core SoC with 2 GB of RAM can handle most basic tasks, but some apps feel slower than on devices with more powerful internals. What surprised me, however, were the generally useful and well-working features for reading PDFs and ePub files. But same as for apps, optimization could be better. You get a decent number of text settings for ePub files. You can annotate directly, invert colors, split the screen, and even use text-to-speech. But if you look a bit closer, you will notice a few things like there's no option to change the dictionary that's being used, or the fact that the Wikipedia link somehow hilariously takes you to the Chinese version of Wikipedia with no option to change that, at least none that I could find. And while having a text-to-speech function sounds great at first, starting it will quickly change your mind on that because it simply sounds too robotic to enjoy.
Chapter IV. The two gentlemen left Rosings the next morning, and Mr. Collins, having been in waiting near the lodges to make them his parting obeisance, was able to bring home the pleasing intelligence of their appearing in very good health, and in as tolerable spirits as could be expected, after the melancholy scene so lately gone through at Rosings.
PDF features, on the other hand, are pretty great once you get the hang of it. The Penstar eNote is one of the very few devices that offer extended PDF viewing modes for multi-column articles and comics. Those aren't as easy to find or set up, which is a bit of a theme with the more advanced features of the tablet, but at the end of the day, they work pretty great. You can also annotate directly on PDF pages, and those annotations are saved on an additional layer directly in the PDF file. So you can just copy the PDF to the PC and all annotations are where they are supposed to be. Let's talk about battery life, because the massive 6000 mAh battery results in pretty incredible runtimes, at least when it comes to reading. Turning a page in an ePub ebook every 15 seconds with the automatic page turn and the default e-ink settings of fully refreshing the screen every 50 page turns results in a runtime of up to 170 hours. That's 7 days of continuously reading. That's awesome. With adapted settings of a full page refresh every 5 page turns and the normal e-ink mode, battery life goes down to roughly 60 hours, which is still good, but more in line with many other e-ink tablets. One thing I noticed though is that battery drain wasn't linear. When running a battery test continuously for 12 hours, the battery drain increased a bit towards the end. That suggests that there's some software issue causing the increased battery drain when continuously using it for a long time. It also means that you might be able to achieve even better runtimes when not reading so long. Writing will bring it down, of course, but still results in a very good runtime of roughly 9 to 10 hours of continuously writing, which is on the upper end what most e-ink tablets manage. So at the end of the day, the Penstar eNote takes a minimalist approach with no front light, no touch input, and impressive battery life. The user interface is clean, for the most part well organized, and you get solid note-taking and even great PDF capabilities with Penstar's system. I also like the magnetic Half-Folio attachment and customizable buttons and the writing feel. But what sets the Penstar eNote really apart from the rest is battery life. While the missing finger touch and 8 customizable buttons can also be considered unique selling points, the long battery life is definitely the thing that makes this tablet stand out most in my opinion. What could be better in today's competitive market is pen latency and performance. And if you look closer, the user interface could also take a bit more optimization in certain areas as well. Support for more languages in the UI would also go a long way. And last but not least, the most obvious downsides come from the lack of a front light and a capacitive touchscreen that change the way how you interact with the device. I get the appeal of reducing complexity as much as possible and providing a more basic e-ink experience that's reminiscent of how the tech started out. But personally, I like the convenience of having both a front light and a touchscreen more. But that's something you have to decide for yourself. Ultimately, the Penstar eNote offers a unique pen-only interface, great battery life, and solid note-taking capabilities with a touch of Android flexibility. While it may not match the competitors in display resolution, pen latency or performance, it's still an interesting choice for users that value simplicity and endurance. It's also worth a look if you're looking for a simple, large-format e-reader with long battery life and page turn buttons, which is almost impossible to find in today's market otherwise. If you like this review, please let me know in the comments below and like and subscribe. Thanks for your time watching, and I'll see you on the next one.